The growing divide between Aria Winston and Clarke didn't form overnight. It unfolded gradually, almost silently, as the ecosystem around women's basketball began rewarding qualities that extended far beyond physical talent. What started as a subtle difference in fan engagement slowly evolved into a seismic contrast in global influence. But part 2 of this story reveals something deeper. The new era of women's sports isn't merely about visibility or marketing. It's about alignment with a world that values authenticity, emotional intelligence, and connection. Clarke became the face of that new era not by forcing herself into the spotlight, but by fitting naturally into the movement reshaping how audiences consume sports. Her highlight reels didn't just attract basketball fans. They captivated people who rarely watch sports at all. Her style of play appealed to casual viewers, youth athletes, social media creators, and even business leaders who admired her composure. These diverse groups all saw parts of themselves reflected in Clarke's journey, and that broad relatability became the foundation of her commercial power. But while Clarke was expanding outward,
Asia Wilson is her name, quote, "It doesn't matter what we all do as black women, we're still going to be swept underneath the rug. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is."
She was a star built from a different blueprint: toughness, dominance, and an intense competitiveness that used to define the standards for success. For years, that was enough. Her performance alone maintained her place at the top of the sports hierarchy. Then the industry shifted, and Winston didn't shift with it. The moment Clarke emerged as a transformational figure, the sports ecosystem recalibrated. The metrics that once determined influence, championships, MVP awards, on-court dominance, were now only part of the equation. Corporations started measuring market impact, brand synergy, social resonance, and cross-industry appeal. They wanted athletes who weren't just great players but cultural leaders capable of driving conversations and expanding audiences. Clarke checked every one of those boxes. In contrast, Winston struggled to evolve her public identity. Every interview she gave, every comment she posted online, and every reaction she expressed publicly began to be filtered through a harsher lens. What she believed were harmless comments began to be interpreted as bitterness. What she thought were competitive statements were read as jealousy. What she intended as humor was taken as passive-aggressive tension. None of this was necessarily fair, but
Did you see how many people showed up to watch Caitlin Clarke play golf? With actual attention economics at play, Caitlin's participation in any league has an existential bearing. Nobody outside of Asia herself cares about whether Asia shows up.
With fans, she conveyed an unwavering sense of gratitude and vision. Brands interpreted that as leadership. Executives repeatedly described her as low-risk, high-impact, the exact combination marketing departments dream of. Winston's behavioral patterns, on the other hand, were marked as unpredictable. Sponsors saw moments of frustration and defensiveness as red flags, reminders that aligning with an athlete means inheriting their narrative. And for companies investing millions, the unpredictability of Winston's public reactions became a liability, not because she wasn't talented, but because the tone of her messaging rarely aligned with the optimistic future the sport was pushing toward. As Clarke's endorsements soared, Winston grew more vocal about her dissatisfaction. It wasn't unusual to see her address fan debates online, respond directly to criticisms, and push back against narratives she felt were unfair. But every response added fuel to a perception that she was losing control of her public image. Instead of rising above comparisons, she engaged with them. Instead of embracing Clarke's rise as a shared victory for the sport, she positioned it as a threat to her standing. This was the breaking point, because audiences today gravitate toward athletes who cultivate positivity, connection, humility, and openness. Clarke demonstrated these qualities effortlessly. Even when criticized, she avoided retaliating. Even when compared to legends, she stayed grounded. Even under immense pressure, she carried herself with composure that resonated with fans and executives alike. This emotional discipline—
That's crazy because literally nobody asked, and sources close to Asia Wilson decided to answer anyway.
Pride, competitive spirit, and frustration were perceived as defensiveness, even when her intent was simply to assert her value. The contrast between the two personalities became symbolic of a much larger shift happening in women's sports: the rise of emotionally intelligent leadership. The national team's decision-making reflected this shift more than anything else. The coaches and executives were not simply building a roster, they were crafting the future identity of the program. They wanted a team that could unify audiences, inspire young athletes, and represent the country on a global stage with dignity and excitement. In that environment, attitude mattered as much as athleticism. Clarke's style of play was built for the modern game: fast-paced, creative, analytical, strategic, and driven by instincts that work seamlessly in international basketball. Winston, though undeniably dominant, represented a style that suited older eras: physical, slower, and reliant on grinding matchups. Her game wasn't the issue, her alignment with the new system was. But it was her off-court demeanor that ultimately defined the decision. The program wanted cohesion, not confrontation; growth, not grievances; team chemistry, not rivalry-fueled tension. And as they evaluated every detail, body language at past camps, reactions to lineup decisions, leadership presence, willingness to adapt, the contrast became undeniable. Winston represented friction. Clarke represented fluidity. This distinction mattered more in 2025 than it...
Here it says, in Sportico's year-end list of highest paid female athletes of 2025, Clarke ranks 6th overall, earning a combined $16.1 million in 2025 from salary, winnings, and endorsements. It represents a $5 million increase from 2024 when she placed number 10 with 11.1. So we up 5 M's in an injury-riddled season. This is legit, man. Am I surprised? No. I mean, it's the GOAT. It's the GOAT. I'm not surprised at all.
Every partnership she accepted expanded visibility for the sport. Every interview she gave elevated the conversation around women's basketball. She wasn't just playing the game, she was shaping its future. Meanwhile, Winston's narrative stalled. The more she tried to regain control of her image, the more she was portrayed as the aging star resisting change. Instead of being celebrated as a foundational figure of the sport, she was increasingly seen as someone unwilling to evolve with it. This was not the legacy she envisioned, but it was the one forming around her. The ongoing divide between Clarke and Winston has become more than a rivalry. It has become a case study in how modern sports narratives are shaped, maintained, and amplified by forces far outside the court. As the spotlight intensifies, the most striking element isn't merely Clarke's meteoric rise or Winston's increasingly complex relationship with the shifting public sentiment. It's the undeniable way the sports ecosystem has reoriented itself to reward qualities Winston never prioritized and Clarke mastered effortlessly. The league's evolution, fans' expectations, and the corporate world's expanding influence have created a new environment where success demands far more than elite athleticism. To navigate this landscape, athletes must understand culture as deeply as they understand competition, a lesson Clarke has embraced and Winston continues to resist. Clarke's acceleration into cultural relevance began not with her scoring records or highlight plays, but with the emotional intelligence she brings to every public moment. Whether she's interacting with a young fan courtside or answering a tough question in a press conference, she carries an ease and maturity that make her...
Caitlin Clarke at number 6. So there you have it. She finished number 6. There is not another women's basketball player on this list. So when y'all try to have these nonsense conversations about who's the face of women's basketball, I mean, come on. It's not rocket science. This is not hard to figure out. Caitlin Clarke is the face of female of the WNBA clearly, but Caitlin Clarke's damn near the face of basketball, period, male and female.